Welcome back to another episode of the Profit Minded Business, and this one comes to us here as we reach nearing the deadline for tax. April 15th coming real fast, and so what we wanted to do is just give Lynn a chance to talk a little bit about what happens if you don't file on time, and then how is the best way to go about protecting yourself if you're not ready yet. So Lynn with Killingsworth Spencer is obviously, you've seen Lynn a lot if you've been watching our show. She is our tax expert here and is backed by a wonderful team of experience. And so Lynn, just help someone out right now that's listening that says, yeah, I'm that person. I am now in panic mode. I'm not ready for this, but you've got some advice for them.
First of all, you're not alone. I cannot tell you the amount of calls that are coming in and emails that are coming in, just people scrambling to find somebody they need help, whether it's because this year we're under new tax law, or they're just your typical year after year procrastinator, or this is the first time they procrastinated, and just there's a myriad of reasons as to why people are panicked. But there are many panicked people. Bottom line, don't. We have this thing called an automatic extension. Mm-hmm. The IRS will grant anybody who asks for an automatic 6-month extension. So it takes a few minutes. Yeah. Your CPA can do it. I believe TurboTax can do it. Mm-hmm. It's not a big deal. You need your Social Security number, name on the, the name that is on your Social Security card, and that might be it. And we have way more information on our clients, so I don't know how much the extension needs. But you just file it, and it's done. It's granted. You don't need anything else.
But I understand that if you think you're going to owe, which is why some people may be panicked right now, that if they do file an extension, what happens to them as far as, you mentioned some penalties earlier.
Okay, so when you file an extension, you have just been granted 6 extra months to file your tax return. Mm-hmm. And if there is any unpaid balance, so when we do file it, when it's prepared and you're getting ready to file and you see that there's an unpaid balance, had you not filed that extension, you would owe a 5% penalty per month on that unpaid balance.
What?
So that extension just got you out of that 5% per month.
So you're saying if someone doesn't file an extension, 5% for each month for 6 months?
Well, it's a 5-month max. It's a 25%, so 5-month max.
Wow.
But it's a big penalty, especially if you have some big tax.
All right, so now let's just assume they filed the extension, so they've eliminated that one penalty.
Yes.
But then what happens?
So if you still owe tax and you filed the extension, you are going to get a failure to pay penalty.
Okay.
And that is much smaller. It's a 0.5% on the unpaid balance.
Oh, okay. So 0.5% for 5, is it 5 or 6 months? 5 months.
No, that'll keep going.
Oh, so that goes on until you pay it.
Yes.
Okay. But assuming that you're going to pay it, is it October, right?
Hopefully.
But the
if you're filing an extension, you don't want to wait until like October 10th and realize,
right. You'll be in the same panic moment.
Same boat.
Right.
Now there is no more. There's not an additional
So
extension.
between the time of extension and the time of actual filing and knowing what your final amount is, you'll be paying 0.5% a month.
Yes, on penalty. That's a failure to pay penalty.
Okay.
And then you also owe interest on the unpaid balance.
What?
So there's penalties and interest.
And
so the same unpaid balance has 2 different
amounts.
Well,
that's got to be low because interest rates are so low, right?
I believe it's prime plus 3% or something. It might be about 5% right now. And that's the IRS. Our podcast here is in Georgia.
Oh, man.
Georgia charges a much higher rate. So if you have unpaid Georgia and IRS penalties or taxes, pay Georgia first, and then the IRS.
Wow. All right. So, bottom line is if you're panicked right now, you don't have a game plan, you don't have someone you're talking to, or if your CPA isn't calling you back and you need someone to help you, listen. Killingsworth Spencer is a fantastic group here in the Atlanta area. You don't have to be strictly in the Atlanta area in order to call them and use them, but get a hold of them and file that extension, and then spend some time with Lynn, Janet, Judy, and the rest of the team in order to really map out your taxes, because these guys are the ones that will help maximize your deductions, make sure you're doing everything the right way, and keep you out of trouble. That's exactly why they're here.
Extensions are not bad. I mean, there's a myth out there that if you file an extension, you're more likely to get audited, which just simply isn't true.
I've actually heard the opposite, that they file an extension so that they don't get audited. It's almost like they thought that the early people were the ones that were most subject to it. I just kind of dismissed the owner who said that. But, I mean, is there any truth to that?
No, getting red flagged for an audit has a lot of other details that have nothing to do with the time you file.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good to know. So anyone filing extensions shouldn't worry, but they do need to be aware that there are the penalties. And so if you can get something in to make a payment while you file that extension, you can avoid the extra interest rates. So obviously when you file an extension, they say, how much are you going to pay? What's your estimated payment going to be? And you have the opportunity then to submit a check or whatever you want to do. Don't miss that.
The IRS would be more than happy just to directly withdraw it from your bank account as well.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But you have to give
Hands off my money.
They want it. The most important thing is what you said. Get that extension.
Get it done.
And it's not a bad thing.
Not a bad thing at all.
And especially if you're a business owner, you may not want to scramble and get a return filed. Sit down when you have time. Let a CPA or a tax expert go through it with a fine-tooth comb. Think about all the different things on your balance sheet and your income statement. And there are ways you can handle things that affect the taxes now and in the future. So think about it with a tax expert and plan to, do the best thing based on your goals and your situation. And if you're scrambling, it's not going to happen for you. And the tax experts right now, we are all busy.
Right.
We're working 16, 17, 18 hour, no, even not 18, 17-hour days. And it's intense. The demand is extreme. Right. It's tiring. Don't you want your tax expert a little bit fresh, more relaxed and fresh and really do the best for you instead of just reporting numbers without thinking about, what I could do better?
And that's the truth of it too, is that even TurboTax is a reporting system, and the advice is limited to what you know, right? They're going to ask you questions, but really sitting down with someone like Janet, Judy, or Lynn is going to allow you to really look at the big picture and then zero in on certain key areas that could be done differently, whether it's on the current year or in the future years. And a lot of it is getting into the habit, I understand, Lynn, is just working with someone like yourself and your team. This should be part of the overall planning and strategy team that business owner has. Right? We always talk about that financial team. You need a bookkeeper, you need a tax person, and you need your fractional CFO. When you have that team put together, you're going to have a lot of clarity, you're going to be doing things the right way, and you're going to maximize your profitability over time. Would you agree?
Yeah, and that whole thing just plays into the entire year of the tax season. When we are busy with tax clients, with business clients, we're talking to them throughout the year, and particularly in November, December. We know at the end of the year about what their tax liability due April 15th is going to be. And we get them set for that by December 31st, and they're paid. So when a client is working with us throughout the year and that tax planning is in place, they don't have to worry about having the actual books done or all the K-1s from other sources or all the 1099s. And I'll tell you what, corrected 1099s are coming in like crazy, and it's really frustrating to have tax returns done and filed. Now we're going to have to amend for clients because corrected 1099s are coming in.
What happens with that? Do you undo it and have to redo everything?
Amend.
And do your clients, when they work with you, have to pay for that amended?
Yeah, they're going to have to pay something one way or the other, because when there's a corrected 1099 and there's a new tax owed, and it happens after the 15th of April, now they got interest on that, unpaid balance. So as a quick and dirty, we'll generally just give them a voucher. It says, you're going to end up paying $400 and more. Just here you go, pay it. We'll amend it later. Or, one way or the other, these amended 1099s are costing.
Wow.
They're costing.
Annoying. That's really annoying.
So, but
taxes are annoying. Can I just say that? Let's just all say that. Taxes are annoying.
If you're a business owner,
jeez,
and
I do like my roads,
December,
but come on.
You're going to take that
I
extension.
do like my aircraft carriers out there on the waters, but
and your fire stations.
Oh, the fire stations. Oh, that's right. Jeez.
The police, as long as they're not behind you.
Right, as long as exactly. As long as they're not
pulling me over for speeding.
That's right. I do like some of those amenities of a free country. I don't know.
But having your tax advisor with you all year, April 15th is nothing.
And Lynn,
we don't talk to our December. We don't. Our real tight. Our clients are working with throughout the year.
Yeah.
We don't talk to them in April. They know that they're covered.
Oh,
There's
right.
nothing. They're going to get the extension. Everything's covered. Their taxes are already paid. They were paid back in December. Some of them need the extra time to take an extension, so they'll know that they'll pay in April. Or another benefit to extending is for business owners is a SEP IRA can drastically reduce your taxes owed, and with an extension you have an additional 6 months to accumulate the money to put in a SEP IRA for 2018. So you can pay that back in September for 2018, and so there are a lot of benefits.
That's a nice little tidbit there. So if you have got some cash from the business that you haven't put to use or doing something with, you can actually use that to contribute to a SEP IRA and offset some sort of a K-1 that you may be paying yourself, or offset some taxes somewhere else within the business anyway.
And that cash may not have even accumulated until 2019.
And you have time to actually go ahead and set it aside if you don't have it set aside now.
We think about like charitable contributions. That's why all those commercials are out, and November, December, donate your car, or this or that, because December 31st that cutoff is there, but not for your Roth or traditional IRAs. You have until April 15th, and then if you're a business owner, you have your SEP IRA, and that will give you until filing the business return. Or if you're a sole proprietor and you're putting your business information on a Schedule C, October 15th. So an extension is not a bad word. It's a good word. And if you're planning in advance for it, you've got the taxes paid.
And something else I wanted to ask you. So, a lot of times business owners, they get to that point of filing their taxes, and they have that tax bill. They've got the actual prep filing fees and all that stuff with whoever they're working with. Is there a way to do a monthly with Killingsworth Spencer at this point and set up a schedule of meetings in order to do some of this planning throughout the year?
We do have monthly clients, absolutely.
Okay. And that to me just seems, we've talked about this before, that to me makes so much sense, because you're not stuck at that big lump sum at the end, and you're also motivated to meet with your CPA. A lot of times we just put it off, small businesses put it off. But by having a monthly program going on, you're actually more motivated to be a part of that process, which again results in that financial team that helps bring that business to a more profitable, more productive zone within their finances.
There's no surprises.
No surprises. And like I said, it's all about that strategy. So for you, working with them throughout the year is so much better than trying to come up with some clever ideas at the end.
All right. So in addition to the quick tax updates coming up to April 15th, we also wanted to just talk briefly about the Direction for Profit-Minded Business podcast. We're actually in the works after this tax season comes and goes to restructure Profit-Minded Business as a nonprofit to not just connect business owners as we have been doing, but actually to create the next generation of business owners, the at-risk youth, starting from the youngest of ages, kindergarten, to young adults just finishing up high school, not knowing the direction in their lives that they want to take. And we're going to be there to help them just with curriculum, with activities, maybe with some partners, and help them see a future other than the defined path that everyone else wants them to live. Yeah.
And that's really why we all come together with this. From the get-go, we've been talking about trying to help not just small business owners, but, help entrepreneurs that have the mind for it but don't know how to take their idea and put it into action. And so we all have a passion for kids. We all have a passion for helping children develop a certain perspective in life. And we found that, our connections with small business makes this the perfect avenue to, it's funny. We've all joked around the name. It's a profit-minded business. We're going to make it a nonprofit. And it's kind of like, but the reality is that it's really all about helping and facilitating the collaboration of other helpers and other like-minded folks to help facilitate, small business owners and the entrepreneurial spirit, and to help foster that development in our kids. And it's, when you look at, a lot of kids that have the means and have the families with means, it's oftentimes that they have that support system. But there's so many at-risk kids, whether it's in foster care or just in general not having those means, and they're kind of, like you said, kind of put down a path of frustration and, having to rely on other people. And it's just the system is what they call it, the system. Right. And we all have this heart to kind of develop a program around helping them break free from the system and develop their own path. And sometimes just if you can work early on to help the way someone thinks, right, it transforms everything for them. Right. And just having that one influence, and I think we've all had stories of that one, the early influencers in our life that taught us to look at the world and say, what if it was done differently? You know what? It looks like someone's doing that. That's just not efficient. Or, you know what? People have a sense they need this, and seeing the world differently, seeing it for opportunities as opposed to frustrations or problems. And, that's, Lynn, I know we've all talked about this, but share a little bit about what you think about this and where your heart comes from in this perspective.
When we first started talking about it, I loved it. My passion is absolutely here. I homeschooled my kids to kind of give them a jump start of breaking the system. And, when you were just talking now, I was thinking back to some of our conversations. We're talking about helping the younger kindergarten age, even with lemonade stands and the excitement of making that sale and, a $0.25 what they're going to do with it. And I remember the first time my son made money off of doing something more entrepreneurial in my old neighborhood. My dad had another lot that had not had a house built on it yet, so he hired my son and paid him $25 a week to cut the grass and keep the lot, the lot under control. Well, one week he didn't want to cut it, and my daughter needed a few bucks. So my son tells her, I'll pay you $10 to cut that lot. And she was as happy as a lark to get that $10. And he was as happy as a lark that he had $15 in his pocket to spare and he didn't have to do a thing. I said, there you go. There's your first business transaction. And, he's never forgotten that, and she's never forgotten that. And they were both happy because they both got what they needed.
Right.
But just that, it's inspiring at such a young age what you can do as a business owner if you have the means and just that push.
I think, just kind of wrap it up. I think that's what it's all about, just realizing that, at the surface level, we talked about it being profit-minded business, but to help kids live a profitable life of their own, that they're not relying on someone else to make ends meet for them.
Right.
And I think that's what we could all, strive to help each other out, and, the conversations that we have help us out. But just doing something, for younger people that can't sit in these chairs with us is something I think really special to all of us.
Well, and the structure around it, it's so hard to be a true business owner. And it's like just to have a place where we could support understanding it's not just about, imagine if with your son, it's like, that was an easy transaction, but later on down the road, they need to kind of grow into, well, do you pay taxes on that? And then is his sister a W-2 or a 1099? Like, all of a sudden, it's like what seemed like such a simple perspective becomes so complicated, and that's what makes it so hard to be successful. Is all that extra stuff that comes with it, and
there's a lot of it.
Oh man. So that's why we develop our teams, and that's why we want to facilitate some of this as part of our curriculum, is because we don't want it to seem like it's all that extra stuff. We want to set somebody up with a profit-first mentality so they can afford to pay for the teams and the things that will allow them to be successful, but not to get so caught up in the transactions first and then never getting to a place where everything is, there is no money. I don't know. There's no money to pay for all this stuff. Well, it's because we started in the wrong foot, and if we can help start in that right positioning, starting with the mindset.
Right.
And then moving into the transaction and then teaching how the transaction leads you into a business. I think that's priceless.
Absolutely. So thank you both for being a part of this with
Absolutely.
me.
Thank you. And if anyone knows how to, want to help us out or be a part of the collaboration, please reach out to us, because we're in this stage of making some decisions and talking through the pathway for it. And we definitely know that the community that we're speaking to right now has a ton of wealth of knowledge and information. We'd love to collaborate with you. We'd love to have a conversation about what we're up to and see how we can all work together.
Perfect.
Great.
All
Have a great week.
Thank you, guys.